All right, what's going on today, chat? Welcome. It's been already a week since we've done grade review. So welcome to grade review episode 12. For those of you who are new here, my name is Galaxy Gaming, and today we are streaming our weekly grade review. So for those of you who don't know what this is, each week we review grading submissions sent to our Discord for free. We look at community members' cards, seeing what we would think the card would get. Both myself and chat vote. So as an example, and we'll just get right into it, we are looking at Dream Sight's submission. So thank you, Dream Sight. I think I saw you join, so welcome. So we are going to just get right into it. So again, for those of you who have never seen this before, this is how we start. So first, we are looking at this beautiful Registeel Gold Star. So as always, we first look at the edge. So the edges looking very, very clean. The only thing that I notice off the rip is that this left side is a little thinner than the right, but not too bad. So we're still looking at like as a 9 centering score. So far so good. The corners, however, are in really, really good condition. So kudos to you on that. As for the rest of the card, I'm honestly just trying to look for any hollow scratches or anything like that on the lettering, and this is looking really clean. So far this Registeel Gold Star on the front. Maybe these, I don't know if these are little white specks that you can clean off. I'm honestly not too sure. Dream Sight, you might be able to confirm that. And that's another nice thing about this is when you guys are submitting cards and you're actually in the chat, it's cool because I can kind of ask for you to check some stuff out for us. So if this is 2 little white specks, this was after cleaning. Okay, so if this is after, that might have something to do with it. But again, I don't know what an actual copy is. I don't know if these actually belong there or not, but I'd have to take a look. But let's flip it over. So this is the back of the Registeel, and man, these corners and edges are clean. Very nice. First looking at the centering actually looks really nice, but the corner, the only thing that I see on the corner specifically is just this one little white dot, but that's about it so far. Again, this edge, this left edge, super clean. There is a little bit of a white dot there. I'm not too sure if that was removed or not, or could be removed. The bottom left clean, bottom edge clean, bottom right corner clean, right edge clean, top right corner clean. Mr. Clean for sure. The bald head and everything. This is a very clean looking Registeel for sure. So again, if this is your first time, we are going to launch a quick poll. So this is your opportunity as chat to vote what you think this Registeel would get. So if you're on mobile, the little clipboard should have popped up in the top left-hand corner of your device. So this is your chance to vote on what you think this Registeel would get. So this is the front of the Registeel, and then this is the back. So again, welcome guys. Appreciate all the likes and follows and shares so far. I did see a few, but if I missed them, I apologize. Much love, much love. That's awesome, Dream Sight. That's it's cool that you're able to get them submitted. I know that you were talking about it before, but that's awesome. Hey, Civic, how's it going? Yeah, that's what I noticed too, Betty, was that it was a little bit thicker on that right side. And so while you guys are voting and while I'm catching up here, Civic, hey, how's it going? That we actually had someone submit their actual results of one of their cards that were reviewed. So we know that Pork Chop had a submission that came in not too long ago, and we were pretty spot on. So we have another one that a Discord member submitted that went through the grading review. So I'm super excited to show that off today as well. So let me end the poll here. So we have a 9 for chat grade. So that's really good. So the Registeel Gold Star. So what do I think this would get? So The first thing that I see on the front is that it is a little off-center from the right to the left, so it's a little bit thicker on that right-hand side, but not too bad. Corners and edges look really clean. Surface looks really clean. There's nothing I see on the holo, so far, so good. The only thing that I saw, which I'm not too sure if it's part of the art or not, are these little 3 white dots, but that's about it. So if we flip it over, the back of this is super clean. Corner's good, edge is good, the surface is really good, and the centering is also very good. So all in all, these cards are taken very well care of. And so I would say for this card in particular, the only thing that's probably going to hold you back is if these are dots that couldn't be removed, that would probably have a significant impact, significant not being too bad, would probably be in the 7 category if they are not on the artwork. But if they are, then you're probably looking at a 9. So I'd say just because I don't know, I'm going to assume that it is part of the artwork. So I'm going to go for a 9. But again, if it's not, then I would say a 7. So congratulations on that. So that Registeel is sick. So very nice looking card for sure. All right, right off into the next one. We got the meme lord himself, the Regirock. I don't know if you guys have had Regirock like almost dominate your TikTok feeds as it has mine, but I am getting nothing but Regirock memes as of late. So I was super stoked to actually see this Dream Scythe as one of your submissions, because again, I've just been bombarded by Regirock noises from the anime. Civic, you say you don't have one, but now that I'm talking about it, your phone is going to hear me talking about the meme, therefore you're now going to see it. So you're welcome. So if you see it, you know where it came from. So, but again, thank you so much, guys, for sharing and liking the live so far. Definitely means a lot. If you guys have any questions about anything that I am talking about today, such as how to submit or what this is all about, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions. Hey, Poke, how's it going? Thanks for liking the live. Appreciate you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hopefully you're driving around safe. More often than not, when you're in here, you're driving around. So I appreciate you. All right, so let's get into the Regirock Gold Star. So the only thing that I see for the corner, and I don't know if it's just the picture or not, but it almost looks like this top right-hand corner almost looks kind of like cut a little bit. Do you guys see that on stream? It almost looks a little thinner on that corner, but I could be wrong. I'm not too sure, but that's the first thing I've noticed. But besides that, I'm just gonna kind of table that for a second. The centering is actually really good on this Regirock. The corners are really good. The centering is really good. I will say, because that should be part of, I think that's just a period because of the gold star. Let's see. And from this angle, the holo actually is really clean, so that's good. Man, you took care of these Regis. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you really did do a good job at cleaning these, or if you found them, super nice. So let's flip it over. And again, super nice on the back too. Really the only thing that I'm seeing, and I don't know again if it's an illusion of the picture or not, is these kind of look curled a little bit. I'm not too sure in the top left and the top right. I'm not too sure again if that's just an illusion of the camera or not, but that's really all I see. Maybe Dream, if you're still in here, you can probably confirm on what you saw. They are okay. Fan, thanks so much for liking the live. I appreciate you. Okay, so it was a little bit of a curled edge on the back. Okay, so we'll have to keep note of that. But other than that, though, the curled edges on the top, the sides are really good. The top is really good. There is like a little white dot in this bottom left-hand corner, and a very tiny one. I wouldn't even call that one probably on that bottom right. But Ancient Mew, thanks so much for following the live. Appreciate you. And other than that, though, it is pretty clean. Justin, thanks so much for following the live. Appreciate you. All right, chat. So let's start a new poll. So what do you guys think this Regirock Gold Star would get? So there is the front, and there is the back. So while you guys are voting, it should have popped up on your device. I'm going to catch up with chat. Mickey, thanks so much for following. Appreciate you. So again, that should have popped up if you're on mobile. It should have popped up in the top left-hand corner, I believe. And for those of you who are wondering and voting, I will say that if you are interested in submitting your cards to get graded for free, just look for this thumbnail pinned on my profile. So if you go to my profile, you'll see a video called Grade Review and How To. Just give that a watch. It's about 45 seconds long, and it'll give you a step-by-step on how to submit into the Discord for free so that you can be on a future live stream to get your cards graded on the live. So that's about it. Hopefully you guys are having a good Wednesday. I'm honestly look forward to these. It's a nice little break in the week. Something to look forward to. So definitely have some tied votes here in the poll. So we have 4 votes for 8, 4 for 7 and 6, which I would probably say more on the 7 side and the 6 side, but actually not even. I'd probably even say it'd probably be tough between the two. So we got a pretty good range here, honestly, from the front of the Regirock and the back of the Regirock. So let me end it there. So you guys are pretty tied. So I'll probably just say 8-6 because they'll kind of go right down the middle there. Because that was pretty split. So what am I thinking this Regirock Gold Star would get? So again, centering is really clean. Edges are really good. There's nothing that I'm noticing, and I'm trying really hard to look for any scratching or even print lines on this Regirock. And from the angle that we're seeing today, there isn't anything that stands out. So let's flip it over. And so when we look a little closer, we do see some curled edges on the top, both in the top left and the top right. It doesn't look like it's super bad, but it is something that we have to consider still. So if we look on the edges, both the left and the right, edges look good. Even the top edge looks really clean. The only whitening that I see on the corners is this bottom left one. But all in all, it's really comes down to these curled edges on the top left and the top right. So normally something like that, if it was worse, if it was whitened, I'd probably even say like a 5. But it's really tough because it doesn't look like it almost looks like it was done so in a pack or out of the factory, because it doesn't look too bad, all things considered. So I'd probably say, which is how uniform this is and that there's not a lot of whitening associated with it, I'm going to assume that it came probably from the pack. So the damage is going to be as minimal as possible. So I'd probably give it a 7 in my honest opinion, just because of that. But what do we say, chat? When the back looks funky and the front looks good, we call that a binder card. But it's definitely like the best binder card you could ask for sure. But yeah, for those of you who are just joining us, I welcome you. I am Galaxia Gaming. And right now we are just going over some cool looking cards. So this is a submission again by Dream Scythe. Very active in the Discord, so I appreciate you. And next up, we have the Regice Gold Star. So as I get this prepared, clear these stats. I'm trying to get better at that, but yeah, welcome guys. Hopefully you guys are having a good Wednesday. Again, if you have any questions or have any comments that you want to make, or just want my opinion on something, I'd be more than happy to answer. All right, so let's get into it. So the Regice Gold Star. So I think the trend continues. The centering is super clean on this Regice. Corners look really good. The only thing that I see, which I probably think chat will see as well, is we do have a pretty noticeable print line running all the way from the top. It almost looks like the Regice is holding almost like fishing line between the icicles here from the left to the right. So you can kind of see, using this hover zoom tool, you can kind of see almost like a fishing line right across. That's very, very symmetrical, very straight. So that's normally going to be a print line. So we have to consider that when looking at the overall surface. But other than that, looking at the surface, there you go, 239. Thinking like me. The text is actually looking pretty good. So other than the print line, this front is actually really nice. So let's flip it on over. Okay, so this one does have a little bit more going on with it. So if we look, so I just got the hover tool here in the center because I'm looking at the edges first. So we got those same curled edges that we saw on the Reggie Rock, but only more so on this right side, and then a little bit on the left side, but not too bad. But as we go kind of, because I normally just go counterclockwise just because I've just been doing it that way for so long, that you can kind of see. So we have some surface wear here, or that might be a hair. I'm not too sure. It might be a hair. We'll just say it's a hair. Alejandro, thanks so much for following the live. Appreciate you. So as we kind of go down, and 239 also saw it too, is that we have some pretty significant whitening here that really drew my attention. Sin, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate you. And so as we go down, there also might be some, I don't know what this is. It almost looks like ink or something, ink or dirt. I'm not too sure. On that bottom right-hand side, where like just above where the tip of my mouse is, there's almost something right there too. So we're going up, we're going up, we're going up. We see a little bit of something there. And then we also see some whitening towards this top right side as well. So really the biggest thing on the front of the Reg Ice is just the print line across the top. I'm just going to call it the fishing line. That's really all I see on the front. But the back is really where it's kind of holding it back a little bit, no pun intended. King, thanks so much for sharing the live. Appreciate you. So, all right. So now that you guys have seen the front and the back of the Reg Ice, let's launch the poll. So the poll should be active. And while you guys are debating on what this Reg Ice, the fishing Reg Ice with the fishing line, that's the front, and then that's the back. Let's see what you guys think. So I'll keep the back more active than the front. If anyone needs me to flip it over, I'll be more than happy to. But let me just catch up with chat here. Sin, thanks so much for sharing the live. And Angelo, thanks so much for following. Appreciate you. I wonder why the back of his card is damaged. Yeah, I mean, it's always tough, right, to really know. Sin, thanks so much for following. Thank you so much. But yeah, I mean, it's always tough, right? Like how cards get damaged, or just the little weird little things that happen like over the course of time. Because, you know, this Reg Ice, right? This came out, what, in 2006? So this card's almost 20 years old. So who knows? Who knows what happened to this thing? Maybe they had it on a desk for 5 minutes. I don't know. Spen, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. All right. And that, again, that's what's nice about it too, is when you guys are getting your cards, reviewed, like when you're actually in stream, it's nice to kind of get a little like behind the scenes of, you know, why is your card look like that, or where'd you get it, or whatever. But yes, and I'm right there with you. The fact that these cards have survived for so long is really impressive. Where am I? Thanks so much for the follow. I know where I am, but hopefully you know where you are. All right. So the poll is done. You guys are thinking 7-6. All right. So what do I think this Reg Ice Gold Star is going to get? So corners, edges, looking really nice. The centering is on par. The only thing that we see almost immediately is, again, the print line that goes right across the top of the Reg Ice, almost looking like it's holding a fishing line. So as we flip it over, we do see some curled edges, very slight in the top right, as well as the top left. The side, on the left side, almost looks like either a hair or a surface scratch. We go down, we do see a pretty significant white dot in the bottom left. And as we kind of go around, we also see a little bit of a dirt blemish here on the bottom. I'm not too sure, either ink or dirt. And as we go up the right side, we do have some white in corners there. So it's really the back surface and the back corners and edges that are really kind of taking this card back from being a better grade. So I think with all those factors being considered, I would probably think that this card would probably get a 6, would be my guess. But again, all things considered, not too bad. Famine and Tyler, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. 239, I sleeve my cards and put them upside down, and a top loader barely gets a 9. Yeah, it's crazy. Especially even just like a print line is a great example, right? Because this is something that even if you pulled pack fresh, this was totally out of your control. You have nothing that you could have done here. But so it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So Sin, where do you find these cards to grade? So actually, Sin, this is a free service, and this goes for everyone in here. So this is a free service that I offer to where you can submit pictures of your cards for free in our Discord. And I'll actually post the thumbnail on, I have a pinned video in my channel called Grade Review and How To. So if you watch that, it's about a 45-second video. It tells you everything you need to know about where to submit your cards, how to submit them in terms of the picture and everything like that. So if you give that a watch, it should guide you to the correct place in the Discord. Again, it's a completely free service. I do this for the community as my way of saying thanks, because you guys are awesome. And I always appreciate the support. So anytime you guys follow, share, and like the live, it really does mean a lot. Because again, I'm trying to do something different. I'm trying to offer this stuff for free and just kind of have like a general discussion, just to have people be a little bit more comfortable with the grading process, and kind of be that guiding light, so to speak. So definitely appreciate all the support. Really does mean a lot. Wolf TV, Serenity, User, Justin, Hooper, and Liam, thank you so much for the follows. Appreciate you. King, we've been actually pretty accurate. We actually had a community member submit the cards that we assessed live, and we were 3 for 3, which was really cool. When I'm done with these, I have a few more. We actually had a community member get back their return, I think yesterday. So it's going to be the second one that we're going to review, which is super cool. So far we've been really accurate. Again, the more people that actually submit their cards to get graded and let us know what they get, the more accurate that I'll be able to answer that question. But so far we're 3 for 3, which is super cool. King, thank you so much for the follow. Famine, how damaging is the print line to its overall grade? That's a good question. So it all depends on the type of scratching. So print lines, that's really kind of out of the factory, so they're very symmetrical. And it's kind of tough. There's not really like a end all be all answer. It's really just kind of, learning from the experience of it all. But I would say a good rule of thumb is like the more scratches that really stand out to you almost like within the first like 2 or 3 seconds of you looking at the card, that's, like if you're just like, woo, like that card is rough, then that's probably going to be a very low surface. Versus like if you really have to like look at a card in a light for like 15, 20, 30 seconds, the surface grade is probably going to be pretty good to where you're like really trying to look for the scratches. So it's kind of a tough question to answer rather. But hopefully, again, if you stick around long enough, which is again why I like doing this for free so much for the community, you'll kind of get a sense of what kind of things we're looking for. Hey Trev, what's up? Thanks so much for the heart. Appreciate you. Well, welcome back. Nice to see you. All right, so next up we have the Japanese Charizard promo. So for those of you who have never seen this before, this actually came out in a Japanese Neo Discovery promo sheet, which is super cool. Serenity, thanks so much for sharing the live. Appreciate it. And so this came with 9 cards in basically just like a 1-page sheet. So it came with 2 unknowns, spelling Neo for Neo. It had Umbreon, Espeon, it had Eevee, and then it had Pichu, Charizard, and I can't think of the 9th one. That's embarrassing. but it came in that sheet. So if you just look up Japanese Neo Discovery promo sheet, that's where this came from. So okay, Jacob, thanks so much for liking the live. All right, so these cards, you can kind of obviously tell that we are looking at a reverse holo. So there is a lot going on here. So these cards are very difficult to get a high grade on, because obviously there is a reverse holo. So there's more holo on this card than a normal. So we got to be very careful and very diligent on looking at the surface. So let's take a look. Okay. So centering looks pretty good from what I can tell. Corners look good. And the edges on the front look good. So now, again, now we start to look at the surface. So let's take a look. So again, with this nice little magnifier tool, it's really nice and it makes it so much easier to really zoom in on these little bits of detail to see if we can see any scratches or any imperfections. Because again, reverse holos are notorious for scratches, especially promos. Because as a kid, you know, you can just kind of didn't really care. I mean, this, I guess, is just for my personal experience as a kid. You know, promos were given out in movies and places that you just didn't have a binder or even sleeves. Really just were just beat all the hell. So, Nicholas, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. But I will say that you took care of this reverse holo much better than I ever would. These nice little dots are cool too. Just the old school holo pattern just are so nice. So yeah, that front is super clean. So let's take a look at the back. And unfortunately, I am seeing some whitening here. Both whitening in the corners and some surface wear. So let me highlight some of that here in a second. So first off, the nice thing about Japanese, old school Japanese, is that these red lines make it very easy to kind of at a glance check centering. So the centering is actually looking really good. But as we start to go from the top, which is actually really nice, we go to the bottom and you do see some surface wear on the backside there. And you also see some whitening in the bottom left, and you see some surface damage on that right side. So just kind of taking a quick look. We also see some in the center of the Pokeball here. So it's more just surface wear on the back, as well as this whitened corner in the bottom left. But let's see what chat thinks. So the new poll for the Neo Discovery Charizard promo is live. So if you want to weigh in on what you think this would get graded, that poll should be active now. So that is the front, and that is the back. And if you need me to flip it over, just let me know in the comments. So as you guys are doing that, I'm going to catch up with chat. Oh, man. Yeah, there's been some really nice cards. There's been some really nice cards submitted into the Discord as of late. It's honestly been like a really nice variety as well. Because I was honestly, when I first started this, I was really expecting more just straight modern, just to kind of see, you know, because with modern, you know, if you don't get the 10, that card is essentially just going to stay at the raw price almost indefinitely, just because that the print quality of modern is just so much better, obviously, than the old vintage stuff. So if it doesn't get a 10, you're really kind of down bad a little bit, but not by much. So like, for example, if you're trying to look for like a Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies and the raw price kind of gives you some sticker shock, if you look for PSA 7s or PSA 8s, you can often find them cheaper than a raw copy if you're into just collecting raw. So that's always again a free tip for you guys if you're ever looking for raw copies, but the raw price on TCG Player is a little bit higher than you want it to be. Just check out the PSA 7 or PSA 8 version of that card, and more often than not it's cheaper because most people try to buy the raw copy to grade. But all right, so we got a little bit of a tie here. Hunter, thanks so much for the follow. So we got a 8 to 9 tie. So you guys are right on the line between 8 or 9. So what do I think this Japanese Charizard promo would get? So again, the front of this card is very nice. I was expecting a lot more scratching on the foil, but I really don't see any. Centering's good, corners are good, edges are good. We can just pretty much just flip it over. So the only thing that I see on this card specifically is 3 points of surface wear. So we have some right here on the left, not too much, but it's really on this Pokeball and in this bottom right. So you can kind of almost see this very slight scratch above where my mouse is. In addition to that, you can also see some whitening in the bottom left. So I would say with those factors, along with the edges on the top and the left and right, for the most part being very clean, it's really just the surface that's kind of dragging this back. I personally would probably say a 7 would be my grade. So I'm thinking 7, and then you guys are thinking 8 or 9. So it's a pretty, all in all, from 7 to 9, it's still considered a near mint copy. So, which is super nice if you guys are ever trying to like debate on whether or not, sell it raw or get it graded. As long as you assess it as above a 7, so like a PSA 7, 8, 9, 10, but you don't want to get it graded, you can still list it as near mint. So, don't know how chat is hitting a 9 with the bottom left. Yeah, that's well, it's kind of funny you say that, and I hope you stick till, because this is the last one for Dream, and I have some announcements I want to make. But there is a submission that one of our community members just got back after going through this grade review that I think is going to surprise a few people for sure. And I'm going to kind of break that down a little bit. But yeah, so let's get into it. So let me just clear this. Yeah, and again, if you guys are curious or how to submit your cards here, just let me know in the comments, and once I'm at a pause point, I'll go over it real quick. But so far, Dream Scythe's cards that have been submitted are in very good condition overall. Because again, it was the Registeel, Regice, Regirock, all just in such good condition. As gold stars, by the way, if you missed that. But Connor, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate you. And again, for anyone that I have missed, I definitely appreciate all the shares, likes, and follows. Really does mean a lot. So definitely appreciate it. All right. So the Dark Charizard. Probably, in my opinion, one of the coolest Zard. Besides, I think my favorite is probably the Shining Zard from the Neo sets. But yeah. Thanks, Connor. I appreciate you. Let's see. So, edges, corners looking good. Centering is actually really nice. And I am seeing no print lines, which is very impressive for this Zard. So super nice that there's no print lines on this Zard. So the front looks really good. So let's flip it over. And the back is also very good. Wow, that is awesome. So let's see. So let's take a look on the back. So the only thing that I see on the back is it is a little off center from the left to the right. Not by much though. I just that was the first thing that I noticed, is that this looks a little bit thicker than that right side. But the top left and top right look really good. Bottom left looks good. Do have a little bit of whitening there, but that might just be from the picture. And we also have some whitening on this right edge as well. Both, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. But I think you should be good. But yeah, really the only thing I see is just this thicker border on the left than on the right. So let's see what chat thinks. So the poll is active. Do you guys see that pop up? And let me catch up with you guys real quick. Oh, gotcha, Sarah. Yeah, it's just like always impresses me, for cards that are this old, right? Like we got 1999 to 2000, and this card looks like pretty much back fresh, to be honest, like at first glance. And it's just always so impressive that these cards just survive the test of time. 239. I just sent 2 cards into the Discord. You have an estimate and when you are going to look at them. So it's honestly just based off of currently like a first come, first serve. I am going to make an announcement of, once we're done with this Dark Charizard. So just if you want to stick around for a little bit, I'll kind of make an update announcement on how you can expect things to go like that. But yeah, definitely stay tuned for sure. But normally I do this once a week, but if I have time throughout the week, I'll do more streams to do grade reviews depending on how large the queue is getting. But I try to stay consistently on Wednesdays starting at 7 p.m. Eastern every week. But all right, so poll is done. So chat is thinking is actually pretty close. So chat on average is thinking a 9. So what am I thinking this Dark Charizard would get? So centering on the front, good. Corners on the front, good. Edges on the front, good. Surface looks good, both in the text area. So I'm not seeing any silvering or any weird scratches. And I'm honestly not seeing any scratches here as well, or even print lines. So the front is very good. So if we flip it over, the big thing that really kind of stands out is just the centering on the left-hand side, as well as potential whitening in the bottom right-hand corner, as well as some of these little white dots on the right-hand side. So unless that's part of what appears to be the cardboard that you're taking a picture on, if this is actually on the card itself, I would probably say an 8 would be my guess. If those white dots and the whitened edges are in fact on the card versus just being behind or just a weird kind of picture issue, then that would be my guess. So that is Dream Scythe's part of their submission, which is again why I'm going to go into what I'm about to say here in a second. But do I look at all languages like Spanish? Yes. Yeah, we've gone through some Korean, we've gone through some German, because we've had our good share of Golurks, for sure. Which for those of you who don't know is the German Charizard name, which I think is probably one of the funniest ones. But yeah, and as long as it's real and as long as it's Pokemon, the language doesn't matter because we're just looking at condition to get graded. But yeah, so before we move on to, I think next up is NetMNDR, I want to say that for those of you who are watching or have been watching, there is currently a feedback going on for grade review. So if there are things that you like or don't like or wish that it changed, now is your chance to weigh in. So that is actually in the grade review channel that you guys are putting your cards in as one of a new pinned message. So if you want to vote and weigh in and have your thoughts shared, that is the place to do it. So some of the ones that have been seen in this so far, which I am currently trialing, is only doing a maximum of 5 per day or per stream by one person. So you're more than welcome to submit as many as you want. However, I'm trying to limit it to at least 5 per stream, just so it gives enough people a chance to have their submission done as well. So Dream Scythe has had a ton. This definitely have more. But I wanted to do at least 5 and trial that. So that was a recommendation from the feedback. Again, that can be found in the grade review channel in a pinned message. But yeah, Golurk is nuts. So let me just clear this real quick and get ready for Net's submission. Annie, how can you review my first edition Blaine's Charizard? So the way to do that is just go to the pinned video on my channel. That what you're seeing on screen is the thumbnail, so it just should read grade review and how to. Just give that a watch. It's about 45 seconds, and it'll give you all of the info that you need on how to submit and everything like that. Chad, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. All right, without further ado, let's get into some jungle. Of course, if you guys have any other questions or anything like that, feel free to let me know. All right, so let me get this all nice and frame here. Perfect. Knowledge on grading is always important. I definitely agree, Chad, for sure. And it's nice too, you know, because again, I don't charge anything for this, and I think I just like to have more of an open discussion. It also gives people, you know, because I feel like there's just so many people that kind of put grading on this like fantasized pedestal. You know, for example, or streamers that open up boxes and say, wow, like if this gets a PSA 10, you can basically buy a house with it. It's like, is that actually true? No, not really. So it's kind of nice to have people kind of show like why that might not be the case. So, because I personally don't like that when that happens. Because I think it's pretty misleading, in my opinion. But all right, so pincer from Jungle. So the first thing is that we can tell that this is not the error. And for those of you who have seen the Jungle errors for Unlimited, this would be right here. So for some errors, this Jungle symbol is missing, so also known as a no symbol error. But this is not the case. The other part is that Jungle, Fossil, and rewaves of base set were notorious for what's called silvering. So you can kind of see these little silver speckles on this right-hand side. So a quick history lesson, if you will, is that Wizards of the Coast did not care about replacing their blades that were meant to cut sheets of cards. So the more sheets that were cut, the duller the blades got. So as a result, you know, there would be little nicks in the blade, which would result in almost trimming some of this yellow border off the front of the card, which would cause these little silvered speckles or these silver specks on the right-hand side. So it's very common for reprints of base set, Jungle, and Fossil because, again, they didn't care. Kids didn't care. Wizards didn't care. So that's why you see that. Joshua, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. But besides that, besides the edge wear, the centering and corners look good. The big thing that stands out to me are these scratches. So someone asked me before, and I apologize if you're still in here. The name is escaping me. But we're asking, you know, how much of an impact does surface wear cause? So for this example, this is kind of what I was talking about. And I almost kind of coined the term almost like clustering. So these scratches are very condensed and very close together. So my eye is really drawn in on this location. So you can kind of tell that there is a lot of scratches here. So we're kind of already looking at, like, depending on if there's other scratches around here, this is probably a 6 on the front, but let's flip it over. Let's make sure that it is in frame here. Surprisingly, the back is much better than the front. The corners look good on this top part. That left edge looks good, bottom left. There's only a few little white dots in the bottom left, as well as in the bottom right. This middle, so it's really just like very small edge wear on the right side of the pincer, but overall, pretty solid. So, chat, what do you guys think? What do you guys think this pincer would get? Poll should be active if you wanna vote. So that's the front of the pincer. So again, really the only thing that we saw was just the kind of the scratching and the like where my little magnifying glass is. And this is the back, and again, that was more of just the whitening on the corners and edges. But do you know what queue I am in? I submitted the Moonbryon. Let me check. Let's see. Yeah, because I think you're near Jonah. I would probably think that you would be more of like next week, just based off of what I'm seeing. Again, if you weren't here, I am making some changes to the grade reviews to allow people who are deeper in the queue to not get like trumped by people who make larger submissions. So yours is definitely going to come up faster versus if I didn't do that, you'd probably be in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So I'm looking forward to those changes a little bit, because for example, this submission by net was more than 5, but I just chose the first 5 that they put in there. So yours should be coming up soon, hopefully by next week. Joshua, thanks so much for the like, appreciate you. And Full Art, thanks so much for sharing the live. Thanks so much. All right, so chat is 7 or 6. So you guys are pretty spot on, I would say, because the front, it's really just these scratches that are kind of taking this away. And then as we kind of flip it over, the back is actually pretty decent. But since it's on the front of that holo, I really don't think it would get that 7. So I am in agreement with chat here that I think it's going to be within that 7-6, but I'm probably leaning more towards the 6 than the 7. But yeah. Next up, we got a Japanese Lieutenant Surge. So again, this kind of goes, who asked this before? Someone asked me if it was cool to submit stuff in like Japanese. 239. So if you're 239, if you're still in here, here is an example of us looking at a Japanese card. Brighton, welcome. Hammer, welcome. All right, so Lieutenant Surge. I always thought it was so cool that they made this set was really kind of innovative for the first gen. I mean, I'd say Team Rocket obviously is very innovative because it was the first concept of a secret rare, as well as some other cool different takes on Pokemon. But I really love the idea of having like trainers and their Pokemon, or gym leaders and their Pokemon. I thought it was really cool. Ben, thanks so much for the like. I appreciate you. So yeah. All right. So the first thing that pops up in my eyes is the right side is a little bit thicker than the left. So again, for those of you who are new to grading, centering is one of the 4 main criteria. So we have to consider the centering, and we consider that by looking at on this card specifically the yellow border. So you can see the yellow border on the right side is a little bit thicker than the one on the left. It might be a little bit tough to see on stream, but you'll just have to trust me. Ben Breaks, do you have any thoughts on cards that get overgraded? Ben, if you want to actually ask me, because I'm glad you kind of reminded me. Remind me here in a second, after we're done with this Lieutenant Surge, because I have an exact example of someone that went through this grade review process that got their card back. So if you're around, please feel free to let me know, and I'll answer that question in depth, because I think it's cool to kind of unalive a few birds with one stone, so to speak. Okay, yeah, so centering's a little off from the right to the left. I am seeing some whitening on the bottom right-hand corner, maybe, but we do have a nice swirl here. It's a little blurry, but it is a nice swirl. Me personally, I don't know if you guys are in chat, I am a sucker for swirl patterns. I'm a huge fan of them. But based off of what I'm seeing on the picture, again, it's a tad blurry, and the lighting is kind of making it a little bit tougher to see if there's any scratches on the front. But let's flip it over. The back is in much better focus, so let's take a look. There is some whitening on the top, some surface wear on the top middle, some whitening on the bottom left, some whitening on the bottom right. But all in all, not too bad. Not too bad. What do you guys think? There's a poll active if you want to vote in, but I'm curious what your thoughts are, as always. Poke, I do not know how long ago you sent me a donut, but I appreciate it. That's what's like kind of weird, like how TikTok Studio works. It's like it makes the GIFs like really small and not very noticeable. Because I have 3 monitors, and I look on my left at chat, And so now that I'm looking, Ben sends me 8 roses and poke with the infamous tiny dinies. I appreciate you both. Thank you. But yeah, sometimes it makes it a little bit tougher. So it's like, I gotta really pay attention. But yeah, so here is the front and there is the back for those of you who are voting. You're parked. Well, that's good. Glad you're driving around. All right, so chat vote is average 8. So I would say that this Lieutenant Surge being a little off center from the right to the left. We also have very minor whitening on the top. So we have 1, 2, a little bit there in the 3. We also have some surface abrasion here, but I would probably say with just the centering on the front and then some of these, again, with the pictures that we have, because this could be totally different if we saw this in a different angle and different light. But I'd say based off what we're seeing right now, I'd probably say an 8 as well. But, okay, so before I continue with this reverse holo clamper, Ben asked me initially, and this is a good time to bring this up, do I have any thoughts on a card that gets overgraded, as in a 9 or 10 that should have been a 7 or 8? So I'm glad you brought that up. So if I kind of scroll back here, so to kind of set the stage, so we did this grade review like we do every Wednesday. I did this with someone who actually submitted the card that was reviewed to PSA to get graded, and it was this Mew specifically. So with this Mew, we reviewed this, and without me having to pull back the video, so this was the front of the Mew, and with a nice little swirl on the snoot, and this was the back. So without boring you on going back in video and just kind of showing what we assessed this was assessed originally. Chat was, I think, assessed it as an 8+, because before we didn't have 10, 9, or 8. So chat voted 8+, and I voted an 8. Because the main reason why I voted this an 8 was because of this white dot in the bottom right. Let me see if I can try to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. But this right here, this white stripe in the bottom right hand corner, right? So that was the front, because other than that, the front was really clean, as well as the back, with the exception of this white speck. So today, this same user had their card come back as a 10, if you can believe it. So this thing came back as a 10. So my first thing was, oh, well, because one of the things that you can do is you can look at the cert number and look at the scan cards. So if we look, I can kind of open in the browser. So this is what I actually sent in the Discord when I looked at the image. So I confirm that this white speck, or this white line, was still present on the actual card. So this confirmed that this card that we assessed on stream was in fact the card that they got graded. So to answer your question, Breaks, is what are my thoughts on a card being overgraded? You know, to speak candidly, right? Like if it were me, at the end of the day, you know, if PSA says it's a 10, then whatever, right? I'm not gonna get mad about it, because you're basically making my card quote unquote more valuable. But on that same vein, if I'm looking at this at a show and I see that white line and I think to myself, oh, it's an 8 like we did, right? So if I see this and I see it as a 10, I'm like, unless I am buying it just because it says 10, I'm probably going to pass on it. right? So, you know, is there inconsistencies in grading? Yes. Like that there is no rhyme or reason. It is 100% yes. But that is, so like my thoughts on it, you know, at the end of the day, like they're the quote unquote professionals, and it makes it tough for people to kind of like argue. It's like, oh, well, it's not a true 10 and whatever. You get into like weird territory. But it's really just kind of in the eye of the beholder at that point. Like, are they buying just the card because it has a 10 on it, or are they buying it because it actually, they agree with the grade? So that's kind of like my 2 cents. Do you feel equally when owning over graded versus buying? Let me there you go, Mark. And you can also slip in a $5 bill to get that extra boost. You might need to rephrase your question, Breaks. I don't know why I'm not understanding it. Do you feel equally when owning over graded versus buying? Yeah, I don't know why I'm not. It might just be me not understanding it. Are you disappointed at all to receive a card with a higher score than expected? No. Because I'd say the only time that would ever happen is if I'm specifically trying to go for something like the anti-10 or like the PSA 1, which personally have never done. But that'd probably be the only time that I would be disappointed that my card got a better grade than it should have. So yeah, Mark, I don't know, like, because it was present on the original scan, which was right here. So I have no idea. Like, even in the Discord, we're all kind of like, that doesn't make too much sense, but you know, good for him. That's all I gotta say. Good for him. Coast to Coast, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate you guys. Lee, I got about 500 base set cards. Are the non-holos worth grading? I would say certain ones, right? Like a good rule of thumb, like if it's a starter and the centering is good, like that's probably where you should start. So like Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Charmander, and then their evolutions, right? Ivysaur, Wartortle, Charmeleon, Pikachu, you know, think like that. But if they're in good condition, but there are some, you know, even if they get a 9, they're only worth like $20. So your profit margins are going to be pretty low, especially if you don't have a collector's club membership, if you decide to grade with PSA. So just kind of some rule of thumbs. Yeah, I agree, Justin. Unless there's like a big like bulk deal, like a grading or a quarterly special, on average, your margins are going to be so low that it's not really going to be worth it, unless you know it's going to get a 10, which in that case, it's still a gamble because we just saw. So Ben, again, just put a pin on that question. I see that you feel that one company or grades more than others. I will answer that in just a second, because we definitely got a lot of cards to review tonight. Okay, so Clamperl, a pretty cool reverse holo. I always like when they have the energies in the background. You can kind of see here. We do have some dirt though. You can kind of see that on the top. I think that's dirt, because I don't think that is actually a part of the card, like the card art or the card design. That might be dirt, but so I'm gonna assume that is like, so all on this top part, I think that's all dirt. But the holo, there are some scratches like where my mouse is, but not many. No print lines. This might be something here too. There's a pretty significant scratch, which is unfortunate, but let's flip it over. Let's see. So in the back, again, I see kind of chat in the corner of my eye. Once I have you guys submit what you think it's going to get, I'll catch up here in a second. We do have some whitening on the left, bottom, and right edge. So yeah, this card is a little rougher than the ones that we've seen so far. So let me start a new poll, and you guys can help vote what you guys think this clam pearl reverse holo back from 2004. We are going back a ways. So that's the front of the reverse holo clam pearl, and that is the back. If you need me to flip it over, I will. But I'd say again, the really big thing is that you guys need to be aware of that you might not be able to see on stream is that this top part is pretty dirty, I will say. But okay, so while you guys are doing that, let me catch up real quick. Let's see. Lee, thanks so much for following the live. So how can I submit my card? So if you go to my pinned video in my profile, so you can see it on screen. So the pinned thumbnail should read grade review and how to with a Koro Mew in the background. So if you just watch that, it's about 45 seconds. It'll teach you how to get into our Discord, like where it's located. And then once you go through the verification process, you just post your pictures after you read the pin messages, and you should be straight from there. But if you need any questions or need additional help, just let me know. But that's probably the easiest way to do it, is just to watch that video. But yeah, it's totally free. Anyone can submit. And again, we do this every Wednesday. So on the front, that appears to be an eyelash. Yeah, it honestly might be. But yeah, Lee and Justin, that's my answer to both your questions. And Ben, thanks so much for follow. Appreciate you. All right, so it's pretty unanimous. We got a 7-6 here. And then I have Zach and Ben both asking the same question about overgrading, so I will answer that once I'm done with this clam pearl. So, Zach, thanks so much for following the live. Appreciate you. So, what do I think this clam pearl will get? So, I'd say it's pretty dirty on the top. I'm not going to lie. And if you guys have ever seen some of my past streams, this is something that I would probably even be able to clean, in my honest opinion, with just a Q-tip and some distilled water. I've done some streams before on how to do that, but this would be a really good example of something that could be cleaned. But in this scenario, let's just assume that you can't clean it. So that's going to take a pretty big hit on the surface grade. It is a little bit off center. It's a little bit thicker on this left side than it is on the right. Do have some small scratches on this left-hand corner, but not much. And like chat was saying, this might be either an eyelash or a scratch. I want to say more so, probably it might be a hair because of like how black it is. It's kind of sitting on the edge. So that might just be able to get brushed off. But then on the back, it's really just a lot of whitening on this edge on both the left, bottom, and right side. So I think with the amount of dirt on the front and the pretty consistent whitening on this left edge, I would probably lean more towards probably a 5, honestly. Because again, if this is dirt, I would probably say 5, but if it's not, I'd probably say a 6. But yeah. So if that's dirt, it's a 5. If it's not, it's a 6, would be my guess. Alright, so before we get to Ned's final submission of the night, I'm kind of checking off here with this Mega Charizard. I am going to, let's see. So the question that was asked by both Ben and Zach was my take on a company overgrading, or like what company overgrades the most. So I can only speak just from personal experience. So I have only graded with PSA only because they've just been the one I started with, and it's been the one that I've been most comfortable with, and it's more of just a habit to submit with them. I know the process. I've gone through kind of the ringer of it all. Do I think that some of the cards that I have submitted had better grades than I was anticipating? 100% yes. Which again, that's why I kind of like to do this, because I think if we do enough of these and enough come back graded, we can kind of see a shift in how accurate or lax some of the grades are getting, so we can kind of update based off of the current trend of PSA. Because we might even be grading too harsh compared to PSA versus Beckett. I think doing that would be kind of a fun experiment, but again, I don't have that much capital to test like 100 cards for Beckett, 100 cards for PSA, 100 cards for CGC to have like a good baseline. The only thing that I could think of for like overgrading though, is again just my experience with PSA. That Mew, for example, was definitely overgraded, and it will really depend on, like in the long term, if that is a consistent problem to where people are, you know, cracking like Beckett 9s to PSA just to get the 10 for the premium increase. It's tough to say whether or not that's going to be a trend for the long term, but it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. But Jerk, it was the, I don't even know what Mew it is. It's the 2004 Japanese Play Mew Holo. But Beckett only gets my very best other than it's just PSA for me. Yeah, Zach, because that kind of goes back to what I was kind of, and Ben agreed as well. Like I'm a huge sucker for holo, like for swirl patterns and holo swirls. I kind of equate black labels to that of a holo swirl. Because like for me personally, you know, a black label, you know, is there an additional premium? Yes. Do I think it's more of like in the eye of the beholder, whoever wants a black label? I want to say yes. Because, you know, getting a PSA 10 versus a Beckett 10 black label, like if the difference is like $5,000 or something like that, I mean, it's very exaggerated, but just to use as an example, I'm just going to get the PSA 10. There's nothing that draws me to like, and just think of how hard it would be to collect an entire like collection of just Beckett black labels. That would be so expensive and be so time consuming that I don't even think you'd be able to even have that even happen in our lifetime, to be honest. Unless there's someone that's already done it, I just don't. It just seems like it's such a niche within a niche within a niche collection goal that I just like don't see as plausible, and that it's just so expensive. Yeah, I mean, and again, that's totally get why people buy them. It's a really cool, the label looks really cool, the black and gold. And then having something that you can say is like the most pristine a card can ever be by a grading company, you know, I think that's cool. I also think that people that pay a premium for holo swirls, like I understand that too. So it's really just, in my opinion, I just really think it's like a eye of the beholder kind of thing. And then Ben, I also see your question about the opinion on like cleaning, correcting, borderline, like modifying stuff. I definitely have a pretty strong opinion on like card wax, which I think kind of carries that, but I will answer that in a second. Does black check in the Discord mean it will be done in the live? So black, you probably mean blue. That one just means that I just am acknowledging that I see it. Green is where I'm actually queuing it for stream. And then if you see a little like microphone, it means that I actually reviewed it on stream. Because there are some times where I have to cut stream short or stream crashes to where I intended to review it on stream, but I just didn't get to it. So that's what that means. All right, so before I start answering some more questions, I'm just going to get through this Charizard, because again, we have 5, 10, 15, 16, 18, 19, 21, 22, 24, 26 more cards to review. I believe, or no, we have 16 more cards to review because I just did 10. So we got some moves here. Okay. So right off the bat, I see a few people kind of saying in a chat, this card looks a bit fake to me. I don't know if it's the lighting or not, but it looks a bit fake. So one thing that I'm going to do real quick. Hold on. Pokemon card. I'm just going to see if there is an example that we can look at. kind of compare it, because that just something about the lighting looks very strange to me. So I'm trying to look for a high-res upload here. Let me just kind of comb through here real quick. Let's see. Yeah, because normally, especially with like Megas and GXs had a large wave of fakes and prints and all that stuff being done. And I'm just trying to like look at a few parts here. Let me see if there's even one. Let's see on like eBay. Because really the thing that's like kind of putting me off is just like how the holo looks on the bottom. So Pokemon and Charizard EX PSA. So let me see if I can do it this way. Okay, here we go. So here was just one that I was just able to pull up on eBay. And let me just do this real quick so I can just kind of go back and forth. So this is a legit one. So this is a legit Charizard EX. And then this is the one that we're looking at. So if I look here, right, so really the thing that I'm kind of looking for is like the edges. So here's one thing that we're going to look for, is see if we can see anything kind of popping out on that bottom right hand corner. And I don't know. I wish we had another picture on the front, to be honest. Because again, this is a real one. I don't know, like they always look kind of like weird to me. Like just this holo pattern. Yeah, the back does look good. Like now that I'm kind of like looking at the back, because normally like you can really tell a fake card by looking at the back, because like you can see, like it almost looks like a dot printer, to where the dots are much larger on the back than they are on the front, for a fake card. But now kind of looking at it a little bit, because I'm just trying to like look at some details here, right? Like I'm trying to look at like, normally text is a good indicator on whether or not a card is fake, like the small text. So like the HP, right? We're looking for like the HP, we're looking for the evolves from Charizard EX, right? Those are kind of the things that we're kind of looking for. And it looks pretty good, just text-wise. Normally that's where they kind of falter with fakes. So I think just based off of the back, I think we should be good. But I think we should be fine. So with that being said, it's very difficult for me to tell if there's scratches on here, just based off of the angle. Nimbus, I agree. Especially with these older cards like XY, these were like notoriously faked. Just with like how much stuff is going on, and it's not textured really, makes it very difficult. But I'm not really seeing all that much. Really, the only thing I'm seeing, and again, this is why I think we kind of saw it when we flipped it over, is that the back is definitely is legit. If this is the same card, at least. If this is the same card, which I don't see why it wouldn't be. This looks to be real to me, the back. But it does have some of these whitened dots on the back that can probably be just cleaned off, but it's definitely off center for sure. You can kind of see this left side is much thinner, and it's almost like shifted to the left because this right side is pretty thick in compared to the left. But yeah, definitely a little off center. That's for sure. But the front part's honestly kind of too tough to really make like I don't even really want to like make a call like on stream. Like we can kind of talk about it in chat, but just by the picture, it's kind of difficult to really gauge like what this would get from the front. I think because of like how crazy the holo is, it makes it pretty difficult to see on stream. But before I kind of move on to the next one, you guys were popping off in the chat here, so I'm just kind of catching up here real quick. Could be a different card, yeah. Nimbus, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. Hard when you can't see if any curls on the full. Yeah, this one's definitely tough to do this on a stream with this like full art mega. It makes it pretty difficult. But yeah, the fact that we focused more on whether or not this was fake was pretty interesting, for sure. So thank you again, Net, for that submission. And let us move to... So this one is probably going to be pretty quick. So this one is by Unhandy Civic. So let me queue these up real quick. Unhandy Civic. Definitely an OG of the grade review. If you guys have kind of peeked in there, if you haven't been in there already, he has submitted a ton of cards to the grade review. So let me see where we're at. So these ones are going to be a little faster, and I'll explain why in a second. Because Modern, I have a opinion on in terms of grading, but I also want to address Ben's. I want to address Ben's initial question of my thoughts on like card wax and altering. 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's should be the 5. Let me check. Yes. Okay. Jess, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. I finally got my Tom Lob in. Going to help so much when I send my cards in. That's awesome. I'm super stoked for you to try it out. It's definitely, I think out of all the tools that I have in my grading arsenal, it's probably one of the best ones that I have. What kind of cards are these? These are Pokemon cards. Come on now. Come on now, Gil. Let's see. Yeah, in all seriousness, these are just cards that people have submitted to get graded on stream. And again, if you guys want if you're wondering how to get your cards reviewed on stream, just go to the grade review and how to pinned video on my profile. Just give that a quick watch. It's about 45 seconds, not too long, and it'll give you all the instructions you need to submit, so then you can have your cards on a future stream. So we do this every Wednesday. We do a little bit more here and there, but we have a dedicated slot for this specifically every Wednesday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. These were never in the binder. What are you talking about? These are always in the binder. You just didn't know about them. This is where Pokemon actually started to tell stories with their cards. So that was pretty cool. But yeah. Rub, thanks so much for the heart. Appreciate you. And again, I know I probably missed a few. I definitely appreciate those who have liked and shared and followed the live. Definitely means a lot. For sure. It's always nice. I know I kind of say it a lot, but it's always nice to see the community liking this style of content. People were kind of talking about like rip and shippers in the feed. I feel like there's enough of them, so I just didn't want to be yet another rip and shipper. And again, this is stuff I like to offer for free to the community, just to kind of give my 2 cents. I've been grading since 2017 through PSA, and I keep track of all of the grades, or all the grades that I submit So if I think a card's going to get a 7, I'll jot that down, and then when it comes back, if it gets an 8, cool. If it gets a 6, I'll kind of keep track of all that. So all that since 2017 is kind of what I'm trying to talk about during these streams. So the fact that I get the feedback that I do really does mean a lot. So I definitely appreciate it. Corey, thanks so much for the follow. Okay, so Ben, if you're still in here, I didn't forget your question, but I'm gonna run through these real quick. IMO PSA is easier on vintage, but weirdly harsh with modern. And honestly, Zach, that's exactly what I'm about to talk about. So I'm gonna probably run through these pretty quick. This is almost like a rapid grade, because when we're looking at modern, right, we have to assume that the print quality is pretty up there, right? Because the technology has improved since 25 years ago. So really the biggest thing with modern is that you need to have the corners and edges have zero whitening, and you have to have the centering practically flawless, meaning 50-50 on both sides, both top, bottom, left, and right. Because if a modern card does not get a 10, you're essentially going negative to a degree unless you open it out of a pack. So if you open up a $100 card out of a $5 pack, you're already kind of plussing in that regard. But if you buy a raw card at the near mint price expecting it to get a 10, you better have that card get a 10 to make any form of like good margin. Otherwise, you either have to sit on it for a very long time, and some people just simply don't have the patience to sit on stuff for a long time for it to appreciate, or you just sell it raw, and in hopes of someone else buying it to try to grade it themselves. So for these cards, that's exactly what we're looking for. So centering on this is good, and the back centering is good on this as well. The only thing that I see though, and I don't know if it's just a shadowing thing, is that there is a little bit of whitening up there in the top left corner, like very, very small. So if that is, I would not get this card graded, in my opinion, because graded meaning that I don't think it would get the 10 for it to warrant like a good price tag for modern. But I'd probably say a 9. And you can kind of see another white dot here in the top right too. Let's see. Doctor, thanks so much for the follow. What card is that, and from what series? So this was one of the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection. This is the one that a bunch of resellers thought that it was going to skyrocket through the roof, and then Pokemon printed it into the ground. But Japanese back center. V-Star is a great set to open. Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, because these came in English. They were in the Charizard UPC. But yeah, some really cool art though, for sure. Probably one of the cooler modern promos as of late. So again, centering. Front looks good. Let's take a flip on the back. Back looks good for centering. I'm not seeing anything else, so that one should be good to grade. Justin, thanks so much for the follow. Yeah, so far your modern cards have been very well centered. That one should be good. Maybe, well, hold on. That might be something. I'm not too sure. If it is, probably be a 9. But so far, that one pretty close to being a 10. This one's a bit tricky to measure centering. Normally for full arts like this, you're really kind of looking at the sides for the centering. So for the left and the right, because obviously there isn't anything to really compare on the top compared to the bottom. But there might be a little bit of some off centering here, kind of like looking in that bottom left-hand corner. But let's flip it over. That is one thing about the back of Japanese that makes it a little bit difficult, because it kind of fades off once you kind of get towards the center of the card. But this one looks pretty good. But this one might be the lighting, but I'd probably check the centering here. This looks a little bit thick when looked on that bottom corner. And then this one, that left side slightly looks thicker. So this left side looks a little bit thicker than the right. And honestly, kind of looks the same here. This right side looks a little bit thicker than the left, but that's about it. But yeah, so that was a pretty quick rapid. Again, when we're looking at modern, that's really what you're looking for, is just the centering and edges and stuff like that. Yeah, who knows, Zach? Like I said, yeah, we just went through 2 of them. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to make it like a fan favorite kind of thing, like almost like a Lucario kind of situation. That might be the only thing that I could think of. But yeah, so as always, Civic, I appreciate those. And like I said before, for those of you who have seen this, one of the things I'm trying to do is, since so many people submit cards, which is great, it's a great problem to have, just to kind of go through more submissions from other people. I'm trying to narrow at least, like, so for example, if you submit 10, I'll look at your first 5 if you're higher up on the queue, but then I'll reserve the rest of your 5 for the next stream or whatever, just so that we can get more people involved in the grading. So that's why, if you're wondering why, you know, if you submit 10 where I'm only hitting 5, that's why. Just as an example. Would love to see what you give my Charizard. Yeah, Dame. Yeah, super stoked to look at it, because you said that you had the first edition Blaine's Charizard, right? Any shot you'll look at the cards submitted today. So really the big thing to check is just the reactions. If you looked at the pin messages, you'll see what each reaction means. So if there's not a green check mark by yours, chances are it probably won't be seen today. But that's normally you can kind of check, because I kind of wanted it to mirror almost like the PSA like timeline, or like where you are in the grading process. I kind of wanted to reflect that in the Discord. So if you don't see a green check mark, it doesn't mean that it's it means that it's not queued for today's stream. And then a blue check mark basically acknowledges that, yes, I see this and I acknowledge that you submitted it, and that it goes through, it meets the basic picture quality that I'm looking for. Because sometimes, like, if a picture's too blurry or the lighting's bad, it's really hard for me to assess on stream. So that blue check mark's away. It's like, yep, your picture was good, and it's in the queue. So Civic, thank you for that one. So next we have American. So let's take a look at yours, American. Let's see. Oh, these ones were actually pretty cool. There's some, like, these ones are actually going to be kind of a little bit tough, but we'll take a look. These are some, like, old. I always like the off-brand cards. I can't remember because I'm pretty sure you can get these graded, but yeah, it's something nice and spicy. Honestly, I've never graded like full art cards like these vintage ones. So this will be a fun little challenge for sure, based off of what we got. But before I do, I want to answer Ben's question before I forget for the 50th time. Ben, you still in here? Oh, look at that, you just joined. All right, Ben, perfect timing. So Ben before asked me, like, what are my thoughts on, you know, like correcting edges or filling in scratches, stuff like that. So my opinion on it is, personally, I do clean cards, in the sense of, you know, if there's dirt on a card, I'll use a Q-tip and water. If a card is bent, I'm actually trialing a humidor to get the card humid and to try to like help curl back some of the curled edges or anything like that. That's as far as I go with it, to be honest. I don't try to shave edges off with like an X-Acto knife. I don't try to use card wax or anything almost like a Mr. Clean, like magic eraser. I don't do any of that because my big rule of thumb is if I went to my local game store and all of their cards were listed as near mint, and I noticed that there was like a substance on it that led me to believe that they were using some card wax, I not only would be upset that, you know, this card may have been like light played or moderately played, but they're saying it's near mint because they just put wax in the cracks. I would also lose all of my trust in the LGS's credibility, because if they're saying that everything is near mint after doing an alteration, which I consider using card wax as an alteration, then I kind of more weary on that LGS. Versus like when I am looking at, you know, if I were to try to submit a card that I put card wax on or did alterations on, not only do I run the risk of PSA denying, or PSA, BGS, CGC, of denying the submission and saying that it's an altered card, if I do it enough times, or if it's so bad that it's like super obvious, I run the risk of never being able to grade through them again, which is a huge impact on my business that I simply don't want to take a risk on. So that's kind of my 2 cents of like card wax and like repairing edges or filling in stuff in. It's a huge risk that as a business owner, I just is nothing I want to accept. It's not a risk that I want to accept. Yes, they can, Mario. They'll return it as altered. They won't grade it. They'll just say it's altered. But if you do it enough, you know, who's to say? It's their business, right? Like, it's their reputation on the line. So if you're trying to submit cards, there are some people, yeah, I mean, there's even some people, you can even find it on Etsy still, to where people sell first edition stamps, like the same size as you would see on a card, that people, and I think there were some times where people got caught doing it. Did I miss my cards? So the ones, because I don't know what's your Discord name, Mario? So the ones that I've gone through so far, I've gone through Dream Scythe, I've gone through Net, and I just finished Unhanded, and now I'm on to Americans. Yes, you did then. It's all good though. The VOD, like I said, the VOD should be up. But yeah, I try to give enough people some cards or some variety. Kind of went all over the place. But yeah, we just finished yours. Sorry about that. Yeah, Ben, it's crazy, and people got caught for doing it too. But yeah, I just find grading such a huge part of my business that I just would not ever even run the risk of it. I don't even want to find out. I really don't. Okay, so I'm honestly, like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I have no idea what like this is even like from. Like, I've seen these before, but I don't even know what it's from, if I'm gonna be honest. The VOD will be up like probably 3 to 5 days after the stream is done, because this is gonna be, it just takes time for my computer to like render like a 2-3 hour stream. But it'll be up in the next like 3 to 5 days, and it'll be posted to the Discord. Yeah, it's really tough for me to assess this card. I'm just kind of like looking for, I mean, I guess like, I don't really know how you'd measure centering. You really can't on this. I mean, I guess the corners and edges are good. There is some dirt here by the eyeball, so maybe just from surface, and there's some weird dandruff going on in Brock's hair. I'd probably say a 7, but again, it's kind of tough. I've never graded these before. Unofficial, yeah. And then some more surface scratch stuff here. Again, I don't know if these even get graded or not. But there's only 2 of them, so it's like whatever. But yeah, the front is pretty cool. There's a lot going on in here. There's a lot going on there. So probably the same thing. Probably just a 7. Because again, like it's really hard. Like the corners and edges look good, and really all I can compare is just the surface. But really the surface, the only thing I see is just the scratch by the eye of the Charizard. So it's kind of tough. So probably like a 7 or 6 on that one. But that'd probably be my guess. Unless there's more scratches here in this like dark part, probably a 7, but maybe a 6, depending on like how many scratches there are. I don't think they're tops. I don't think they're tops. Because normally tops will be actually stamped on the card. But yeah. But I'd say the first one was 7, and this one probably a 7 or a 6, depending on what the shadow, like if there's other scratches near that Charizard, would be my guess. Okay. Yeah, not tops. Mario, can I ask what mine got? I honestly, because yours was like, started with like the pincer, I think, right? I was kind of like, because again, I'm kind of hopping all over the place. Through the Discord. I think the only one that I can remember was... Well, first, the one that we were really tripped up about is just by the picture. We're not like saying this is the case, but the Mega Charizard, initially before we looked at the back, we all thought it was fake. Because the XY stuff is like, sometimes it's just so hard to like really make it look like legit. So we're like doing like a deep dive to verify that it was real, and it was. The back was fine. But I think that one, was like a 6, or not a 6, an 8, I believe. And then I think the pincer was a 6. The Lieutenant Surge I think was an 8. I can't remember the Clamperl. I think the Charmeleon was like a 9. And then the Zard, I think, was an 8. But again, I've done enough of these to where I'm starting to, like, forget. But on the top of my head, I think that's what it was. So American, thanks so much for those. So next we have Muss. Let's see what those are. That was my question on the Zard. Yeah, the back looked good. Honestly, the back is what we thought was, like, kind of holding it up. A little bit better, to be honest. But because if it wasn't for that back, I think it would have been like way more sus than anything. Let's see. Do you just randomly pick because it seems like you're just jumping around? So one of the things I'm trying to do, 239, is that if someone submits, say for like example, they submit 10 cards, I'm only trying to limit it up to 5 per stream. So it looks like I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, and I kind of order it to where the higher, so like the 5s, like the 5 max submissions are first, and then kind of working my way down to kind of like cycle through them a little bit faster. So that's kind of like, they're all check marked as such. But yeah, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit for that reason. Again, modern, we're really just looking for centering. The centering on this actually looks really good. I probably, in hindsight, should have asked you to take it out of the top loader because it's kind of hard for us to look at this top edge, but the centering does look fine. So probably like a 9 or a 10, probably a 10. If the top is good. Let's see. Last question for you. Better card, but worse grade, or worse card, better grade? Mario, thanks for the rose as well, I think. Better card, but worst grade. So I think my big rule of thumb is like what are we considering as like a better card? So like if it's a vintage card, and it's hard to grade, it really would just depend on the pop report. So like if there's a vintage card that's quote unquote better, but there are enough that have like 7s, it's just the supply and the demand. So say if they have the same value on comps. Okay. So for example, like, Shining Celebi PSA 6 equates to the same price as this Celebi as a PSA 10. I would really just kind of like boil it down to popularity. So I would say like most people would probably find the, Shining Celebi more popular. But at the same time, I would also consider population report as well. So if there's like 10,000 PSA 6 Shining Celebes versus 100 of Amazing Rare Celebes in PSA 10, the supply inherently is going to be less for these. And you also have to think, right? Like out of the 100, how many of those people are just going to have them for their personal collection and never show them in the light of day ever again, right? So I think at the end of the day, it really just boils down to just simple supply and demand. And knowing that if the supply is very low, that most of those are going to kind of be in people's collections. And, if for whatever reason, if that demand goes up just based off of time going by, I'd probably just base it off of that, in my honest opinion. So with that being said, this Celebi, centering on the front looks good. Centering on the back, I think this right side is a little bit thicker than the left, so that probably might not get a 10 because of that. But we're cruising now, chat. So now I have, let's see, Soto. Yeah, I was just using that as like an example. But I agree with you. Yeah, Amazing Rares, they're just kind of whatever. It's kind of like, it's always funny, like, when Pokemon does do, like, little, like quirky prints, like Amazing Rares or break cards or whatever. It's always interesting to see kind of new rarities or, like, new sub-rarities. Yeah. I don't know. I always kind of like the look of these, to be honest. I thought it was, like, a cool idea. But never really took off, really. Okay, next up is Soto. So actually, a really new card. Yet another Iono. So again, yeah, exactly. Like the Radiance was another good example of like kind of like a sub rarity attempt to seeing if people like them or not. I think out of the ones that came out as of recent, I think my favorites I would probably have to say was the Amazing Rare or the breaks. But would you say the grading card works? Are you talking about would you say the grading card works to figure out the centering? Are you talking about the centering tool? Is that what you're talking about? Essay? Yeah, breaks were kind of cool, like, because they reminded me of those like really old stickers from like the 90s that like made like the cards look extremely fake, that like prism kind of effect. Fantasy, thanks so much for the follow, appreciate you. And if for those of you who have followed and shared that I may have missed, first I apologize, and second I appreciate it. But yeah, the break cards were cool. But yes, SA, I personally have a centering tool. I definitely find it very valuable. However, you can also kind of do the same thing with just a ruler, because you're basically just measuring a ratio, right? So you want to have this ratio be 50-50, meaning like if it's a half inch on the left, you want it to be a half inch on the right, versus if it's a quarter inch on the left and 3/4 of an inch on the right, it's off center, right? So you can kind of do the same thing. I find centering tools just to make it a little bit easier, because you just put the whole thing on top of the card and you can just take a real quick look at a glance. But yeah, I mean, and they're only like $5 too. Struggling to use a centering tool. Yeah, for sure. Because I should have some cleaning streams coming up soon. Because I'm going to be hopefully buying a collection soon that I'm kind of going through. So once I buy that collection, I normally like to do a cleaning stream just to kind of show the techniques, in addition to showing off how to use a centering tool. So, Aaron, thanks so much for sharing the live. Appreciate you. Had around 5 of them, but I lost them due to a house fire. Man, that sucks. Hopefully you're okay. I want to see those cleaning streams. Yeah, we also use a microscope too, which is pretty cool. If you've never seen a microscope used for grading, it's a really cool thing. So, but yeah. So let's take a look here. So this one, I think right off the bat, the bottom compared to the top is a little bit thicker. So this one probably wouldn't get the 10. So let's take a look at the back here. Let's see. The back looks good, but I think just the top of the front is probably where it's going to hold you back the most. So I'd probably say a 9, to be honest. But so first, okay, 10 though. Yeah, I don't think. I was reading your comment in Discord, Soto. Probably say a 9 only because that top was a little bit thinner than the bottom. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. All right, so next up we have J5634. Yeah, so while I prepare for this one, I definitely appreciate you guys hanging out. Hopefully you guys are having a good Wednesday. Oh, we got some vintage from J5634. Got some Dragonairs coming up. The light and dark Dragonair. That's kind of cool. So let's see. So it was like 8 years ago. I lost around 5K cart. Damn, that sucks. But that's awesome. That's awesome that you're able to rebuild your collection to something that you're, even more proud of. So that's cool. Jake, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. All right. So here we go. So we got the light and the dark Dragonair. So this will be kind of cool. Okay. So let's take, now that we kind of gone through some of the modern, we're kind of going back to, taking a closer look at some of these cards and what we need to look for. So for this specifically, I look at the corners first. I am seeing some whiting in this top right-hand corner, so that's definitely going to take away from the surface and corner grade for sure. The edges and corners, I think, also are looking to be the same. So you can kind of see in the tip of my mouse there in the bottom left that there is some whitening in the bottom left and some in the bottom right. But for it being a non-holo, the surface overall is going to be your kind of saving bet here, because I'm not really seeing anything with this magnifier tool. So let's flip it over. Again, we are seeing some whitening in that top right hand corner here, as well as here, I believe, on this left edge. So it's really just the edge wear on this light Dragonair that's kind of setting you back. So let's do a quick chat vote. So there should be a poll active. Again, this is your chance to vote on what you think this light Dragonair would get. So that's the front. Really, the only thing that I'm seeing again is just kind of the whitened corners in the top left and the bottom right, and then a lot of whitening on this left side, both on the top left and more towards the middle in the bottom left. But Mario, if it was up to me, I'd be telling insurance I had first edition Shadowless Zard. Well, hopefully they don't see the stream and see you saying that. as a joke. That's too funny. Let's see. I don't have much vintage anymore, but I really do like a lot of modern. I'm curious, 239, what type of vintage you have? Because like one of the things I've been noticing more and more as I do these streams is that there are more people who collect, I think, what I would consider modern that is considered vintage, which I think is really interesting. Like really, I think like the definitive crossroad that has been present in these streams is like X and Y. Like I consider kind of X and Y as like the last set, or like the, you know, like between vintage and modern. I think X and Y is that for me. Anything prior to X and Y, I kind of start to consider more of like the vintage side. Or for me, if you want my opinion, I think vintage is really like Wizards of the Coast. But it's interesting to see what people's like line is for vintage. I sent my Charizard EX of Rule of the Black Flame to grade. I'm praying for a 10. Well, good luck. I really hope. Yeah, Joe, that's like my thing. Like I feel like vintage, I think when people say vintage, I think they in most cases, I think they're saying Wizards of the Coast. Is kind of my opinion on it. But Glocked up. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. Oh man. Okay. So you guys are thinking a 9. So the chat grade is a 9. So what do I think this Light Dragonair is going to get? So again, there is some surface damage in the top right hand corner of this Dragonair, as well as some whitening on the bottom left and the bottom right. But really when we flip it over is where we're starting to see a good amount of more whitening and damage, I would even say. So we see some whitening in the top left, and I believe that this full-on edge is whitening as well as some whitening in the bottom left. So I don't think it's a 9. I'm just going to say that right now. It's really determining whether or not it is a 6 or a 5 for me. And I probably want to say, just because the front looks so clean, I'd probably say a 6. But that'd probably be my guess. So we got the number. So I'm thinking 6. Chad is thinking 9. So there it is. Al, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. Famine, how old would a card have to be for you to consider it vintage, or your opinion solely on sets? So I'm thinking like, because it's kind of tough, right? Me personally, when someone says vintage, right, like what's the line for vintage? I personally think that vintage is like Wizards of the Coast, right? So anything Skyridge or earlier, I personally consider vintage, but some others might disagree. Right, so people might think like, you know, Gen 3 stuff, right? Like Sandstorm and Emerald and Dragon's Majesty and, you know, Power Keepers. Like they might think that's vintage, right? So it's kind of tough. Like I think you're definitely getting into that vintage, but or another one is like, you know, like whatever is within 10 years. People kind of, I've heard that a few times. So like 2014 to 2024, you know, anything older than 2014 is considered vintage. I've heard people say that way, you know, so it's kind of tough. I say 2009 and before. Some people are saying pre 2006. So yeah, it's kind of tough. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of all over the place what people really consider vintage. But who knows? Maybe there's like a Google definition. I think in close, it's 20 years to be considered vintage. Interesting. 20 years makes vintage. Okay. There you go. So I mean, that's, yeah, so that'd be, that's a pretty good defining line on, apparently you guys are saying close is 20 years vintage. So there you go. Antique is 25 years. Interesting. So that's kind of crazy. Where so like in that in that regard, we're having some Pokemon cards be antiques almost. Coming soon. Where is the line between vintage, retro, ancient, antique, dusty? How old does a card need to be when it's considered dusty? That's the real answer I want to know. Like, that's like, man, that is a dusty card. Like, is that 50 years old, 100 years old? I have no idea. From the 60s. There you go. Yeah, when it has a thin line of asbestos on the top of it, dipped in mercury, that's when you consider it dusty. when it was made with lead, dusted with asbestos, and washed and cleaned with mercury, that's when you know it's dusty. The cigarette cards, yeah, you're definitely correct. The lead ink, yeah, exactly. Definitely a card you don't want to chew on, that's for sure. Okay, so the Dark Dragonite. A lot better than the Light Dragonite, I'll tell you that right now. The corners and edges and surface are way better on this front side. Let's flip it over. Oh yeah, this is by far way better than the light version, for sure. So you definitely got that going for you. That's for sure. The only thing I see on the back, though, is some of these surface scratches. Here where, like, my mouse is. So you got some on the top of my mouse, and you have some right here as well. So I'd say this one is in pretty good shape. I'd probably say, just from those scratches alone, you're probably looking at an 8. It is also a little off-center from the left side, now that I'm kind of looking at it. So from the left to the right. So yeah, you're probably looking at an 8 for that one. Stank, how's it going? Nice to see you again. Welcome back, welcome back. I have some Wonder Bread cards. Wow. So cool. Hopefully it's not just the ends. I don't know, have you guys ever met anyone that's ever ate, like, the ends or the butts of bread? If you have, you should cut them out of your life immediately. Just eating nothing, just like... I've never had anyone say, like, I just want crust-only bread. Right? It's like crust-only sandwich. Give them to your dogs? Yeah, that's... There you go. Ooh, sourdough. I think, you know what's a really interesting question? I don't know why I just thought of this. For those of you who eat grilled cheese... I'm not going to make a poll because the last time I tried making a custom poll, it crashed my stream. So when you make a grilled cheese, do you use butter or do you use mayonnaise when you make a grilled cheese? This is a very hot button. This is a hot button issue when I talk about it. It's very polarizing, different techniques. See, Stank. I knew I had to have one person that doubted. Yeah, in 239, you guys are haters. I use mayonnaise, and listen to me and listen well. If you use a thin layer, you have to be, so Dream, that's the thing you have to be careful of. You have to use a thin layer of mayonnaise. You can't use mayonnaise as though you're making a sandwich. It has to be very thin, like just barely covering the surface of the bread. And so when you grill cheese with mayonnaise instead of butter, it comes out so crispy and so evenly, like, coated. It's so nice. SA, come on now. Listen, all right? We all have our takes. Just because I have a better one than chat. Listen, all I'm saying is don't knock it until you try it. See, apple juice strong. Apple juice knows. But I'm telling you, if you guys are ever curious, just if you do it for me, at least once, try it with a very thin layer. It can't be like you're making a sandwich. It has to be a very thin layer of mayonnaise on the sandwich or on the bread. So, but I like to make grilled cheese with sourdough bread specifically. That's why I was thinking about that. I love sourdough bread, or like oh man, I'm getting really hungry. Cheesy bread. like cheese baked into the. My issue was following a TikTok grilled cheese recipe. God, I do not want to know what that was like. How long are you streaming? I don't know. I have let's see, I just finished J56's. So we have Jerry. I have Jerry, Patrick, and Ross left, both with 1 card each. And so really, once we get to that point, I just see what chat wants to do. Pretty much. So it's really, I go, just to kind of put it in perspective, and this kind of goes for, this is kind of like my opinion on streaming, now that I've kind of done it long enough. A streamer can only go so far as how engaging their chat is. So like, I definitely commend people, you know, and anyone that does this, right? If you're streaming to like 1 person or 2 people or whatever, or even no one, right? It takes a lot of energy to essentially talk to yourself consistently and be entertaining the entire time. It definitely takes a lot to be, you know, be energetic, maintain the attention, you know, be entertaining, be like for me, for like what I do here, right? Informative and educational quote unquote content is so boring if you don't say it in an entertaining way. So that's what's Stank a cooking stream. Yeah, definitely. See, I'll show all of you guys how superior making a grilled cheese with mayonnaise is. That's how I'll show you. How do I send? I have a Moon Kitty that I'm going to get graded. How do I send you the pic for your opinion? So let me pop up. So if you go to my profile and look for this thumbnail, this grade review and how to, I'm going to even make it a little bit bigger, just so you guys can see it. So just look for this thumbnail. It's a pinned video. Just watch it. It's about 45 seconds. It teaches you how to go to my Discord. You can even go to my website even. So it's just galaxiagamingtcg.com. And where my socials are, you'll see a Discord icon. And just click that. Verify your account. And then there's going to be a grade review channel. And you can submit your cards that way. 100%. I was on live this morning and I just think out loud. Yeah, exactly. You know, and I get it too, right? Like you're just kind of like chilling and just kind of like basically doing what you would normally do, but just have the camera on. And you just have to, you know, you just have to realize that people are coming to your stream to be entertained to a degree, right? Like they don't want you just to be silent. If they did, they would just turn on a watching paint dry 10-hour video on YouTube, and it's basically the same thing. So there, you know, there are people are expecting you to be entertaining. It just is what it is. But it's a lot, you know. You really gotta stay on it. You gotta be entertaining, and just it is what it is. All right, so let me get rid of these 6 9s here. The funny number. Mayo grilled cheese PSA 2, yeah, because I'll probably like burn the edges, and it'll the edge that'd be so funny to like do a PSA review on a grilled cheese. It's like, ooh, the edges are kind of burnt. Edges are a little bit crisped. I would definitely watch a grilled cheese grading video. Maybe I'll just do that as like a meme one day. I'll have you guys like submit like your grilled cheeses, and I'll just assess them as like it's like, oh, that's like a PSA 6 grilled cheese. You see that corner? Oh, but then one of you goobers are gonna make one out of just like the butts of bread, and it's just gonna be crust only grilled cheese, and I'm gonna say that's not even gonna get graded. April 1st stream, yeah. Well, you know, maybe I'll just pretend it's April 1st one of these days, just to see how good chat's cooking potential is. So I'm just gonna catch up with chat real quick. Dream's making burger patties right now. Sick. Like, I sometimes have 8 people in my live with 0 people talking. Yeah, it just makes it tough, you know. Like I understand like the lurking aspect, but it just really does, like, you know, the more people that talk, like you're just kind of feeds into like an engagement loop, right? Like I want to talk to chat. It makes me more energized and kind of talking with everyone. Like, you know, we've been talking about grilled cheese for the last 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Or call it crust off and call it altered grilled cheese. Yeah, or even say like, you know, I'm filling in the crevices of my sandwich. Is that altering the card? Yeah, Mario. The crust here has some serious whitening. You might be able to fix that with a knife. Maybe even trim the edges with a serrated knife. Maybe if you place the pepper jack cheese in this location, you might be able to cover it, but and that's my preferred cheese for grilled cheese, by the way, is pepper jack. So just putting that out there. All right, so the next one is Jerry. So Jerry has one Dragonite V from Evolving Skies. This set is exploding in price. For those of you who watched my stream last week, I did a pretty extensive breakdown on my opinion on the sudden rise of Evolving Skies. Like, even though Evolving Skies has been going up a little bit as of late anyway, it has seen a significant increase within a very short amount of time. So I made a video. That video should hopefully be up on Friday. But again, a lot of these alt arts are kind of going up there. So Mario, I just read your you guys are you guys are funny. Stank, full art cheese coverage. It's an alt art. It's an alt art if you use pepper jack. Chat saying a CSA cheese. Cause it's funny because, like, what PSA is professional sports authenticator, so it'd be cheese. I don't know what you call it. Cheese. It would be sports, but love Evolving Skies. Do you think it'll keep going up? I mean, the set is so popular. Professional Cheese Association. There you go. Poke, I'm so glad that you took the time to park to weigh in on your on your grilled cheese strat. Yeah, 239. That's so I actually have because again, I do this as a small business. I have a show coming up in May that I actually bought a case of the Korean Eevee heroes, because I think people just like to have the experience of opening this stuff, and the Evolving Skies has just gone so high in price and popularity that it just makes it very difficult for people to have that experience anymore. So alternatives like what you're talking about with like Chinese sets, or because Japanese is even more expensive, or Korean are like good alternatives if you're just like trying to open up stuff. But no, I do not hate Poke. The fact that you pulled over and weighed in, the fact that I have another mayonnaise supporter is huge. But yeah, Jerry. So and I'm glad that you're here. Welcome. I don't know if you're here before. So I would say the centering on this front is pretty good. The only thing that I can see, and I don't know if this is like a fuzzy or something, is like right here where the tip of my mouse is. Jimmy, thanks so much for following the live. I don't know if that can be removed. If it can, don't worry about it. But the back, and you're saying most of the white spots, I've cleaned them up. It was the lint. Okay. Yeah, so as long as most of those could be removed, the only thing that I would be interested though, and it's a bit tough just from the angle, but I don't know what the centering is from the top to the bottom. If you want my honest opinion, it almost looks like the top might be slightly thicker than the bottom, but it might be within the PSA 10 range for centering at least. But I'm kind of hesitant to say so. So I'd probably just measure this top part. And if it's not truly 50-50, it might not get the 10. The other thing that I don't know is I'm kind of looking at the edge. This doesn't really look like a fuzz to me. It might be because it might be stuck in the texture of the foil, but that might be something. But the centering on the front looks fine. It's just really the back. But it does look clean for sure. But those are the only, like, if I really had to nitpick this card, those are the only things that I can see. But okay. Oh no, Poke. You say you eat the heels? My brother. No way. I forgot. Someone said 239 feeds them to their dogs. The heels, man. Come on. You're better than this. But yeah, I'd say, you know, depending on how much you got the card for, did you open this yourself, Jerry, or did you buy it raw? Because that I think that now has a pretty big decision on whether or not you grade a card. Like if you only paid, you know, $5 or $10, but but yeah. So let me just catch up here with chat real quick before I move on to the next one. Where's the Discord link? So Chris, if you're still here, so I have the thumbnail up on the video that I have that kind of highlights that. So if you just check out the pinned video, it's only about 45 seconds. It shows you everything where you need to go. It basically guides you to my website, which is galaxiagamingtcg.com. There's a Discord link. You just click that and just go through the whole process. But that video will explain the whole process that you need. So just look for this thumbnail, grade review and how to. It's a pinned video. It's one of the three, and that'll kind of help you out to get to the right spot. I had an idea. You should do like an Antique Roadshow style grading vid. I've actually, it's funny you say that because I think it was either in the ideas. Yeah, it's actually one of the ideas that I actually had in the ideas Discord channel for that exactly. Because to expand on that, Mario, I was thinking about doing this for like a personalized like one-on-one session to where like, you know, maybe like once a month I select someone that has submitted in the grade review to see if they want to do like, you know, not only do we assess your cards, but we almost do like a return on investment review. So it's like, hey, you know, for example, if this was Jerry, right? I'd say, Jerry, how much did you buy this Dragonite V for? You know, it's like, oh, I opened it in a pack. It's like, okay, so you essentially bought it for $11 right now, like $11 being the cost of the pack, right? It's like, okay, how much would this be in a PSA 9? How much would this be in a PSA 10? You know, is it worth not grading? Is it worth grading? To be able to like answer those questions, I think live, I think would be really cool because it like not only does it add like it like to show like a grade review, but it also adds that extra layer. Because I do get asked a lot on, you know, are certain cards worth holding? Are certain cards worth grading or selling or whatever? And there are just so many different variables. Like you guys probably even saw in the general chat, someone asked me not too long ago if whether or not it was worth getting a Umbreon VMAX graded to where if it got a 10, then they were going to sell it or trade it for a case of Fusion Strike. And I did a huge report and breakdown on that. So that's where it kind of led me to toying around with that idea for sure. So I'm definitely right there with you. I definitely think it's a really good idea, and I think a lot of people would get value from it as well. But not even a vid. I would do it live. You know, like if someone's comfortable, I'd add them to a Discord call. We'd kind of talk live over stream. But if not, I'd just talk to them in chat. Just so that the community can like also weigh in too, so that, you know, they can comment or ask questions that we're not talking about, almost like a Q&A. Or if the person's not comfortable doing it on stream, I would just do it as a video. So kind of offers best of both worlds kind of thing too. And I think it'd be really interesting. But yeah, Jerry, thanks so much for submitting your Dragonite V. So again, I think this probably get like just definitely measure the top and the bottom of the back. I think that's really the only thing kind of holding you from a 9 or a 10. But if it's 50-50 on the back, meaning if it's like a half inch on the top and a half inch on the bottom, then I think you should be good. So next up we have Patrick 4356. So let us take a look at Patrick. Let's see, Patrick. Man, there are so many cards. Oh man, I love it. It's a good problem to have. But I definitely appreciate. Oh, we got the Gengar VMAX coming up. But yeah, unfortunately this one is I probably would ask for this to be retaken. It's a little bit blurry. But again, since it's modern, I'm really just looking at the centering for the most part. So this one's probably gonna be pretty quick. The centering on the left here, like this white part, and the right part look pretty symmetrical to me. So I'm not worried about that. However, it does look like it's pretty off center from this left side. So this left side is much thicker than this right, as well as this white dot that I can still see, even though it's a little bit blurry. So this honestly might even get an 8, would be my guess. So, like if you're asking if it would get a 10, it probably wouldn't get the 10. I would probably say it'd probably get an 8, to be honest. But yeah, Patrick, thanks so much for your submission. And I got my Moon, Kitty, and Lugia off a 2-pack snipe. 1 pack of silver and 1 pack of evolving. That is probably one of the most luckiest pack openings I've ever heard. So congratulations. That's sick. And Maddie Law, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate everyone that has liked and shared and followed if I missed anyone. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I really have been enjoying providing like this kind of free service to folks. And it's been really fun, really engaging to kind of look at like all these really cool cards and share it with the community and kind of give my 2 cents on stuff. So it definitely means a lot. So again, I really do appreciate it. Jerry, what do you think the Dragonite would get? So I think it was assessed as 9 or a 10. The only thing that I asked you to do was just to measure the centering on the back, both on the top and the bottom. That was the only thing based off of the pictures that I saw was leading me. Like if it's not like the exact same measurement from the top as it is on the bottom of the back, it probably won't get the 10. But if it is, then it probably would. But that was about it. But everything else looked really good because you said that you cleaned a lot of it off, like a lot of those like dust particles. So that's why I'm not too worried about it. So yeah. All right. So next up we have Ross for Less. With, again, some people call this vintage, some people don't, which is the XY era for Misty's Determination. And boy, howdy, I think we have our first... this is actually a pretty cool card to talk about, because I think this is... I think this is the first time we actually have to consider if this is good in OC grade. If you guys have ever heard of that, also known as off-center grade, which will actually show up on a PSA slab. So before we go into it, let me just catch up with chat real quick. Is the Ditto Spinnerack worth anything? I mean, it's worth at least a penny. But to give you an honest answer, I don't know on the top of my head. If you just look at TCG Player, like at near mint prices, I'm sure it is. But I'm honestly not too sure. To be honest, I just don't know on the top of my head. Essay, enjoy the lives. I appreciate the good words and good vibes. Appreciate you. Stank thinking that it's even Steven. I think we're looking at 2 different cards here. But okay, so for those of you who have never seen a OC card or off-center card, this is probably as close as we're going to get that I've seen so far. So why do I think that? I think that because this bottom part, there is no edge. There's barely an edge here on the bottom. And I believe that this black dot, unless this is like something that can be cleaned off, that's one thing. But in most cases, that these dots sometimes are where they try to line up the sheet to cut them in a symmetrical way. So sometimes when they're so off center that those dots, those guiding dot lines come up, that's a good indicator that it would get an OC grade. Abby, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate you. Yeah, so you want to look for the alignment dots on both the back, the front and the back. So like this one, for example, that might even be an alignment dot because that is so bright and so white. But yeah, so having said that, I believe this is sitting on top of a sleeve because there is some shadowing. So we're just going to assume that that's the case. So the surface and edges look good. It's just the centering is definitely off center for sure. You can even see it here, right? That top art is thick compared to the bottom. So definitely got that going for us. But in addition, so this is that alignment dot that we're kind of talking about. So the fact that we can see that is a good indicator that this would probably get an OC grade. But again, we still have to consider the condition. So we see a lot of whitening on the top, which is not alignment, whatever what I just said. The corner of that's pretty beat. We also have some issues on the left. I've got to get a better look at the top border. Yep, there it is. I got you, Mario. Yeah, so that bottom left corner, the whitening is pretty aggressive, as well as this right side as well. You can kind of see the lighting that's being taken from the right side is kind of hiding this a little bit, but I'm trying to do my best to show it. It's very whitened on this right side. Maddie, it is not paid. It's a free service that I offer. Just give me 1 second. I'll tell you how to submit your cards for free to get reviewed. So yeah, I'm curious what you guys think, especially with it being so off-centered. So there's actually a poll active. I haven't done this in a little bit. So a poll should be active on your device to see what you guys think this card would get for a PSA grade. So that is the front of the Misty. And this is the back. So really it's just the back that has most of the whitening issues than the front. But the front, again, you kind of see that alignment dot that we were talking about in the top right hand corner, as well as on the back left. So that kind of is in line with that, the one on the front. But while you guys are voting, that should be up. I will catch up with chat here. I have a super off-center version of this too. No, not this bad. Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of this era being very off-center for sure. But yeah, Maddie, to answer your question while people vote, the best way to submit your cards for grade review is if you go to my pinned videos, there is a video with the thumbnail titled Grade Review and How To. If you just give that a watch, it'll kind of give you all the instructions you need on what to look for and everything like that. So if you go there, that's probably your best bet. You can also go to galaxiagamingtcg.com and click on the Discord icon in the social section. That will give you an invite link to the Discord, and you'll just have to go to the grade review. But see, then all of your cards are very off-center for sure. They do OC, but most prefer CGC for error labels. Yeah, that I agree, Dream. There are definitely a lot more. CGC definitely covers a lot more errors than the other three, in my opinion. Did I used to work for a grading company? No, I've just been. So how I've been doing it? So I've been grading since 2017. But the one thing that I honestly, because I'm a big numbers guy, I kind of nerd out for statistics. So when I grade my cards, I would always assess what I think they would get before they came back. So I've been tracking my results since seriously tracking since like 2020, 2021. So the more I grade and the more I measure my statistics, like that's how I kind of keep track of how accurate I am. But no, I've never worked for a grading company officially or anything like that. I'm just kind of providing my 2 cents of just based off of like the self statistics that I've kind of kept along the way. But I have clean cards. I use microscopes for cleaning cards. I use centering tools. I basically use all the tools that grading companies use. So I am as close to someone that would do it professionally as I can. But I would never consider myself an actual like employee or working for a grading company or anything like that. But okay, so we are a pretty wide range. So we have chat grade of 5 or 3. Okay, so what do I think this very off-center Misty's Determination would get from XY? So the surface of this card is actually pretty nice, to be honest. Again, very off-center, for sure. So the centering grade alone, you're looking at like the lowest it can, like probably some of the lowest it could be, to be honest. So that's going to really drag down some of that grading potential. But as we look on the back, we are seeing some pretty significant whitening on the top and the top left edge. This white dot is an alignment dot, so I'm going to avoid that right now. But it's really just the whitening on all of the edges of the left and the right. So with that being considered, I would probably say that this card, because there's no dents or dings or creases, so I'd probably say a 5. But this is probably the first time I would actually say 5 off center. I'm assuming chat would as well, but this I would kind of give a 5 OC would be my guess. But Famine, I know some businesses allow individuals to grade through them. Do you offer the same service too? So it's a good thing that you asked that, because I'm actually, so it's been a very popular request as of late to have people say, hey, can I submit my cards to you to get cleaned and processed through grading? At first, I was very hesitant of that idea, but I am happy to announce that I'm actually trialing it with a few people that have been in the community for quite some time. And I'm testing and theorizing and seeing what works and what doesn't, so that when a lot of the tweaks, a lot of the issues can kind of be worked out, I'll actually offer that as a legitimate service, as like a group submission, for people who want me to like clean their cards or just submit on their behalf. So I'm trying to like create like a tier system. So like if you just want your cards just graded without cleaned, that's a cheaper submission, versus if you have, more higher rare stuff that has like damage or just dirt that you just don't feel comfortable cleaning. I am trying to offer a service for that as well. So yeah, I mean, definitely sooner rather than later. Before I was definitely against it, but there's been so many of you that have been asking for it that I just like, I mean, the demand is there. I might as well try to address it. So, Maddie, I have some decent ones for you, I think. Is there a certain background I should have? So all the instructions should be in the pinned messages. But a good rule of thumb is that as long as it's outside of any sleeves and against a black background and not blurry, those are the big ones. But if you want more examples, the pinned messages in the Discord channel will show you pictures that I personally took to kind of give you an example or give you an idea of how to do it. So, but yeah, cool. So Ross, thank you so much for this very unique off-center Misty's determination. And at this point, chat, I have kind of hit the bonus section of the stream. This is kind of where I'd kind of wrap it up anyway, because I have to, when I'm done with this, I have to kind of go back, download the VOD, get that prepared. So normally after stream is kind of when I do it, but thanks, Maddie. Thanks so much. I appreciate the kind words. So now I'm just kind of in, we're kind of in Q&A mode here. So if there's any topics or anything like that you kind of want to talk about for a little bit before I kind of wrap it up. Right now I'm just kind of hanging out with chat, kind of catching up here a little bit. So yeah, I mean, again, this is a totally for those of you who are kind of catching the tail end of this. This is the grade review that I offer for free for anyone that wants to submit into the grade review Discord that I have. If you want to learn more, that's the thumbnail that you need to check out on my pinned videos of the grade review and how to. So if you watch that, it's a 45-second video or so. It'll give you all the things that you need to know and whatever on how to submit, where to go, all that stuff. So just check out that grade review and how to video that's pinned on my main channel for TikTok, and it should answer all your questions. I saw this card centering tool. You lined up on the card. Yep, that's what I also use that, Maddie. You just lined it up. It's pretty easy because it should be. So the centering tool should be like solid and dashed lines, and you basically just compare one side if it's like on the 1 line or the 2 line or in between. You just want to hope that it's not like that on the other side too. So it's a really quick, easy way to determine centering. However, when you're going into like the real like nitty gritty, like if you're trying to look for black labels, your best bet honestly is to get a ruler. Would be my guess. Or would be not my guess. That would be my opinion, is to like actually use a ruler. Could you check my moon kitty out real quick, just in case if I need to take a better pic? Yeah, I can just do that real quick. I'm not going to assess it, but I'll tell you if the pictures are good. Yes. Yeah, your pictures are fine. Your pictures are good. And like I said, if you see a blue check mark, it means that I've acknowledged that I've seen it. So, but verbally, yes, that those pictures are fine. Let's see, Famine, do you agree with people who advise collectors to invest in waifus? I guess it just really depends, right? Like at the end of the day, it's just supply and demand. So like, what are people demanding? Like there is like a waifu tax, I would say, which is just, you know, eye of the beholder kind of thing. But really it's so hard to tell, man. Like it's so hard to like pin down what cards are going to be, you know, worthwhile in the long run. Like, you know, people thought like from Paldea Evolved, the Iono was going to like skyrocket because people from Japan were like buying it out like crazy. But I mean, it's definitely like a good rule of thumb, but I would never like tell people to like buy the card because I'm a streamer and I'm saying so. You really just have to do your research. But if it's popular, again, supply and demand. Have you ever thought about doing a live or series or videos about what you think, your opinions on what? Actually, SA, I actually do that normally. After grade review, I'll do what's called a recon report. So the last few that we've done, we covered my thoughts on Pikachu with Gray Felt Hat. We've gone over Pokemon Pocket, which is an upcoming mobile game coming out, and my thoughts on that. We also covered the rundown of why Evolving Skies has kind of shot up in price. So normally I would save that until after grade review, but since we've had so many in queue, I figured tonight was just going to be more of just dedicated to kind of going through some grade review stuff. But yeah, normally at the end of grade review, I'll lead into what's called a recon report where I give my thoughts on like a major topic. So like just to kind of give you a sneak peek on some topics that I want to talk about in the future. One of them being One Piece, and my opinion on it being possibly one of added to the big three. Let's see, what are some of my thoughts? Like investing in singles versus sealed, like what makes a set worthy to invest. Just invest, like the quote unquote idea of investing. You know, there's a lot of people that say, you know, they're investing in cards, but is that really the thing you should really be focusing on? Stuff like that. So I definitely have a lot of topics, but again, today has been more focused on just the grading aspect. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. When will I be on again? I'd probably say again. So my baseline is I'm on every Wednesday starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, but there are times where I'm live if I have free time, like on Thursdays or Fridays or the weekends or whatever. Those are more sporadic. So it's kind of harder to plan those ones, but I've been trying very hard to keep it every Wednesday at the very least. I do grade review starting at 7 o'clock Eastern every Wednesday. So that's kind of my rule of thumb. So anything outside of Wednesday, it's just kind of random. So if you follow the TikTok and the Discord, you'll know when I go live. In that case, not to self plug or anything, but what are waifus? I say that's a pretty I'm in awe that I'm the one that has to break it to you on what a waifu is. I'm actually very surprised that you've made it this far, not hearing that term. But a waifu is the idea of like an anime woman who is like you're seeing them as your wife, right? Like you are in awe of this anime woman figure. That's as much as I'm going to tell you. I'm sure other people have some opinions on what a waifu is more in depth, but that is the the very PG way of explaining what a waifu is. Roar, thank you for liking and sharing the live. I appreciate you. Why evolving cries up in value? I think it's just everyone just wants to pull the Umbreon. I mean, it's literally what it boils down to. The Umbreon has made that set so unique, and there's so much like it. The Umbreon or the Moonbreon is such a household name now that set is now having a premium because of it. But yeah. What's my favorite Pokemon? My favorite Pokemon, it's kind of a basic answer. It would be Jolteon. It's like, oh, of course, another evolution lover. It's like, yeah, Jolteon was sick. I love Jolteon. But if I had to say, like, what's my favorite Pokemon that wasn't a evolution? The first that comes to mind would probably be Victory Bell. Just like something about the design I thought was so funny. And it just looked kind of like badass with like how the eyes were. Dead, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate you. Thanks, Roar. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean that's the like without being banned on TikTok, that's the best way I can explain what a waifu is. But Project, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate you. But yeah. So yeah, again, if you guys are kind of coming in late, we just wrapped up with grade review, episode 12. So one final time, if you want your cards assessed live for free, the best way to do so is I'll pop it up right now. The grade review and how-to thumbnail. So it's one of the pinned videos on my channel. You just give that a watch. It's about 45 seconds. It'll teach you everything you need to know about how to submit your cards for free. And we just do this at least every Wednesday starting at 7:00 p.m. Eastern. It happens once a week and more throughout the week if I have time, just to be very candid. Sometimes I'll have a weekend free. Sometimes I'll have a week, a week where I'm not doing anything. That's when I'll be able to do like sporadic streams. But the best way to know when I'm doing those sporadic streams, aside from the more solid Wednesday ones, is following the TikTok or following the Discord. I actually am planning on doing that, Stanks. I think Bulbasaur does a very good job of having a vendor POV. I think out of most vendors, I think he does a very good job at kind of keeping things consistent and concise, and kind of just showing a good professional way of doing wheeling and dealing that I really respect. So I'm definitely going to be doing that come May. Actually, I'll be doing two. So I have the show in May 4th and May 5th, and then the show May 18th. So I'm going to I have a lot of that equipment ordered already. So that is definitely going to be some videos that I'm super stoked to be recording. So that'll be super cool to do. So yeah, you're definitely getting ahead of me for sure. But yeah. So yeah, I think that is going to wrap it up for me, guys. Again, I really do appreciate all the love and support. It really does mean a lot to me. You guys are awesome. Again, if you want to know when I go live next, or just kind of follow kind of this whole vision I'm trying to do, which is just kind of collect a community of people who love Pokemon, just love sharing their ideas, and just having open discussions about cool stuff. Definitely would love to see you around next time. But that is going to wrap it up for me. Again, I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. I mean that in all seriousness. I respect all you guys. I appreciate all the support, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.